So you're looking for the end-all be-all answer to your question in solving your particular problem. Now, I know there are many different problems in the world, but I think it could be broken down into some, simple components in which can help you solve your problem. Now, my name is Marcus. This is Discover Ignite, where we discover possibilities and ignite change. And when you are looking at your problem, the biggest thing to do is actually try and remove your emotions. Because a lot of times our emotions will get mixed up in the problem and we'll blow it out of proportion, right? And that problem we'll see way bigger than it actually is. And so if you can give yourself a little bit of time, perhaps sleep on that problem and try to remove that emotion, right? And just look at the problem in which it's in. And a lot of times if sleeping overnight does not work, try to remove yourself from that environment in which you are routinely in, right? And you'll find that this helps give clarity, right? This helps you, get that become more refreshed when you come to look at that particular problem. And removing your emotions will do that, right? And you can find that that problem really isn't so big. And then the next biggest thing to actually do is to actually look at that problem and see how you could possibly chunk it down. Now, a lot of big problems, right, they can seem extraordinarily big, and you feel like there's no way you can actually complete that particular problem, right, or find a solution for that problem, when in fact, if you chunk it down, you can find smaller, perhaps daily tasks that can help you essentially solve that big problem, right? And so you want to look for a way you can possibly chunk it down. And another big thing to keep in mind here too is if you aren't maintaining your knowledge, right? If you're not the kind of person that hungers for knowledge and is constantly looking or in different endeavors, right, in different fields or whatever, trying to obtain knowledge, your perspective is very narrow, right? So you're only possibly looking at that particular problem from one perspective. And this is why it's always important to perhaps get other perspectives, ask another person, hey, what's your thoughts and opinions about this? And getting other perspectives, right? Or perhaps, reading a book on that particular problem. And you'll actually find out that, by getting a different perspective, the way you're attacking that particular problem is a difficult one, right? But if you did this other thing and went through this different perspective, that it would be much simpler, right? And so this is something I've always noticed in life when there's always different problems, right? Is to try to gain some kind of knowledge, whether that's through a person, through a book, through a YouTube video, whatever it is to try to find some kind of piece of knowledge that can perhaps ease your way into solving that problem, right? Because a lot of times you'll get that, again, that narrow thought process because you're only limited by what you know, right? And so by being limited by what you know, you're only going to put your spin on it, and it's going to seem extremely hard. But by gaining that other perspective, by gaining that other knowledge, right, that problem can be very simple. And not only that, but you can find that if you maintain this knowledge base, a lot more problems as they come up, will be easier to solve because you have a wider knowledge of different things. And this is why I always think it's extremely important to maintain that. And a lot of people, they want to be very specific about what they're learning and everything, which is great initially, but you want to still have that vast knowledge. That vast knowledge can be extremely useful and always provide different perspective, especially when it comes to different problems that you are trying to deal with. So not only are you trying to, take your emotions out of the whole equation and try to chunk down that problem and then trying to get other knowledge, then you got to try to execute on those daily tasks and give yourself a window in which you're going to execute those daily tasks to solve that problem, right? And realize that a lot of problems, they can't be solved overnight, right? Because a lot of times we don't look at the root problem. We look at quick fixes. We're always in this quick fix mentality in which we look for the quickest, easiest way to eliminate that problem so we can go back to living our lives, right? And so this is one thing to keep in mind. If it is, depending on whatever the problem is, if it's a health issue, a health problem, something like that, that's something you really need to look at the root cause, right? Don't try to, temporarily patch that, for a bigger issue or problem down the road, right? This is something to keep in mind, is to do this and realize that you need to be looking for root causes and not temporary patches. And a lot of times you're like, yeah, but that's more work, right? And yeah, it can be more work, but I'm telling you, if you can find the root cause, then that eliminates that problem permanently, as opposed to looking for a temporary patch that will get you down the road a little bit further, only to come back and be this massive problem that it just won't go away. So I think it's extremely important to always look for the root, and a lot of times it's harder to find the root cause of stuff. And so the best way to actually go about this is to probably try to perform some kind of audit on it, right? What is causing the issue, right? If it's something health related, maybe you should be documenting what exactly you're eating. Maybe you already know the fact that you are eating poorly, so this is what's leading to it. And so some things aren't always what we want to hear, right, with that root cause, and we would prefer the faster, quicker way and ignore the root cause of what's really causing all these issues. And this is what the problem is, and a big problem is not addressing that root cause. So always look for the root cause of any problem and address it there. Don't look for a temporary fix, because you're only delaying it, right? It's only just push it further down the road, and hopefully it doesn't come back. And that's not at all what you want to try to do. You want to try to solve that issue so it doesn't come up again, right? And then if anything similar to that particular issue comes up, how to fix it, right? Because the root cause of how it was essentially, became this ballooned into this big issue, right? So I hope this video helps you guys. If it has, remember to hit that like button on the way out. And until next time, I will see you guys later.